Gold and ghost towns. The two just seemed to go together. When the word got out that the Blue Mountains in eastern Oregon were full of gold pockets, the miners moved in. Business people followed, and so did their families. They built communities, which are now ghost towns. Ghost towns in a place that the dreamers once called Golden Sumter. The scars of gold mining are scattered all over the Blue Mountains. This country was once filled with thousands of people. Now only a few call these rugged canyons and hillsides home. They settled near the Sumter Valley after gold was found in the mid-1800s. Millions of dollars worth of color was panned and scraped from these rivers and mountains. Just how many millions depends on who's telling the story. A few folks still mine up in this area, but for the most part, the gold era is dead. Locals say most of today's mining is done on the bar stools. These towns that once depended on gold for their livelihood are now cashing in on curiosity. Visitors will pay to pan for history. Jerry Meyer's family was one of the earliest to call this area home.
Squeeze through.
His kin never left. There was more than gold anchoring the Meyers to these parts.
Fresh air, clean air, atmosphere, people. I don't know, I'm just a mountain man, I guess. I've been here all my life.
Sumter was the largest town. The railroad stopped here, and so did 5,000 people in the early 1900s. When the mines petered out in about 1913, most of the miners moved on. Sumter began to fall. The finale was played out just after midnight one hot August night that same year. Fire broke out in Sumter's business district. The dry and empty buildings offered no resistance, and within a few hours, the fire had burned most of the city's 12-block area and even consumed the wood-planked streets. Sumter was never rebuilt. Only the hospital and a couple of other buildings survived. And of course, the determined people still wouldn't give up. They knew there was still gold in the streams, so they built these monstrous dredges with huge iron buckets that sifted through the river rock, panning for gold. And they did okay for almost 40 years before the color faded. The rusting hulks of the old dredges remain where it ended. The dredging spoils are like tombstones covering the valley floor. Now 150 people live in Sumter. People are coming back. A lot of them are probably drawn by the same thing that kept the Myers family here all these years, the mountains and the good air. Not bad reasons at all. By 1900, several towns had incorporated near Sumter Valley. Bourne was built at the portholes of one of the area's largest gold mines. 1,500 dreamers crowded into this little canyon. Today you wonder where they put them all. Bourne was considered a rather rough mining town. Hotels, saloons, gambling houses, and stories that could keep the campfire going for hours. They called Bourne a hotbed, get-rich-quick gold town. But the mine couldn't supply enough gold to pay back the people who'd invested in it, and people packed up. In 1927, the Bourne post office stamped its last letter. 10 years later, a flood poured through this valley and almost wiped Bourne off the map. This little hillside, now called Granite, grew as a supply town for many of the mines tucked away in the hills above Sumter and Bourne. A few thousand people lived here in the early days. Now Granite is home to 6. There are no phones, few crime problems, and 2 cars might qualify as traffic congestion. And that's what draws people like Tony Thompson, who runs the Granite General Store.
To me, the rewards, looking out the front door and seeing the deer and the elk and going down the road and watching all the animals, seeing the trees, the streams, the sunsets. Not a lot of people.
An attractive picture, but even Tony will tell you it's not for everyone.
I guess we're all probably cranky, rugged individuals. I don't know what you describe it as. I mean, everybody's up here because they chose to be.
Rugged individualists. Bonnie and Steve Skidgill certainly qualify.
We do it because that's what just the two of us can handle anyway.
The two burrow themselves inside this 600-foot-long hole in the mountains to mine for gold.
We just had to see what was in that hole, so we just kept digging until we got it open.
Why do you keep doing this?
Got gold fever.
A mine shaft is an eerie place to work for a living. It's cold, very dark. A haunting quiet fills the stagnant air. Bonnie and Steve find the mine comfortable. They say mining in 1990 is not that bad when you consider what the men who started chipping away at this hole had to go through.
It'll do it. Whoops. It can't happen when it's loaded. It's just, going to be pretty heavy. Did you know this much hanging won't come down?
I know, I told you that.
Well, I know, but this is all like quite a bit.
I told you the big slab fell off.
Okay, you guys can really see you can see the vein. The vein itself is looking pretty strong and showing pretty good values, so we'll keep going on it.
The Skidgills are small scale, so aside from a drill, they mine pretty much the way the pioneers did. But remember, this hole was already here when they started. And that's what they used.
That's what the old timers, that and
The hammers.
this hammer was in here.
We put
This is a double jack hammer with one guy to hold the steel and the other one to drive.
And it's pretty incredible when you think about these old timers doing this by hand.
Mining is hard work and a lot of it to make it worthwhile. Locals say the less a miner brags about his or her gold, the better their strike. And the Skidgills say very little about how much pay is in this dirt. The people up here say life is easy nowadays. They will tell you they aren't as tough as the pioneers. We wonder.